the diggers. Some of you might recognise my chair and where I am. That's right, I'm back home. So I call Si-Keo home. Si-Keo. Or as Google Translate, if you try to use Google Translate, sexy cat. It's an inside joke. So yeah, back in this apparently conflict zone area. It's not aeroplanes going over that are keeping me up in the mornings or waking me up in the morning. No. This is something that's a little bit more common in Thailand. Homeless, poor, scraggly looking street dog there, but the tractor and the diggers and digging out soil, moving it from one place and taking it to another spot and building up the foundation for something else. It is literally such a massive business out here in Thailand. Just moving earth, moving soil, moving dirt. Just levelling it off now with this little plough thing at the front there. The bunch of kids over there in the corner. Three of them at least anyway, or two of them are the owner's kids from where I am. And here comes the truck again. Yeah. Apparently, obviously it depends on how far the if you want to call it substrate, the soil has got to go. It depends obviously how much each truck costs you, each dumping load of the soil. Clearly it's not far away because it was the same truck here just a few minutes ago, so it's not being moved too far. So obviously what we do is go around, ask each other who's got some that's sitting idle, not really doing a lot, wants to literally sell some earth. So apparently it's about 200-300 baht for like a local delivery. Obviously it'll cost more per truck if you go further afield. But yeah, back in Si-Keo, and didn't hear any planes or anything like that. No activity in the skies above whatsoever. I am a bit of a heavy sleeper, although I didn't sleep all that well last night. But anyway, yeah, I don't know, maybe subconsciously things are perhaps playing on my mind a little, I don't know. Or maybe I'm just thinking about home and Christmas period and all that, which is a bit of a rough time for me. So yeah, back in Si-Keo, everything seems quiet on the western front, northeast front, southeast front. Si-Keo is one of the areas, this is the disputed area of which the Thai and Cambodians have a little fisticuffs with. Unfortunately they're not using fisticuffs, they're using bullets and rockets. But having travelled to that particular area, not that particular temple itself, the road going to it isn't a very well trodden road. It's very rural. There's lots of fields going towards that Cambodian, that Thai border. It's quite rural, like I say. So there's lots of fields. There's quite a few mountains, especially as you get further to the border itself. It's quite a mountainous road, and it's not a very well maintained road. When I went there, it was daytime. It wasn't particularly late. It was around sort of like lunchtime-ish by the time I got there. It took me longer to get there than I expected. So yeah, even though I think probably on the map only about 100 kilometers away from the Cambodia Thai border, uh, it's because the road isn't very well maintained. Clearly, it's not used very much. There's definitely no tour buses going through there. In fact, I don't think I passed any vehicles going in or out when I was driving there, and I was only going there for information. Having my own motorbike that I purchased in Thailand, I wanted to take the motorbike across into. This is obviously before. This is like last year. In fact, actually, it was more than a year ago because at the time I had a hire motorbike. So I've had my motorbike nearly a year now. So it's probably a year and a half ago. So when I went to that particular border to have a look to see what's around. Hi, thanks for stopping by. Somebody my cap. Yeah, that particular border itself, it's not heavily used. There's hardly any traffic going through there. Like I say, I went there purposely to ask the question, can you take a motorbike across this particular border or not? And the guy actually, very, very friendly Thai border control guy, basically said, no, you're not able to take your motorbike across this particular border. And I wasn't obviously, I just travelled, I think, probably an hour and a half, something like that, maybe 2 hours, because I stopped and had a drink and this, that and the other. So probably took me about 2 hours from where I'm based here in Si-Keo to the border. So when you hear these people scaremongering about, evacuating places like Buriram is even further away from the border. There's, I would say, personally, I'd say there's zero risk of anything happening in places like Buriram. I mean, heaven forbid anything does, but they're fighting over the land of where the temple is. Cambodia isn't looking to invade Thailand, and Thailand isn't looking to invade Cambodia. They're squabbling, they're fighting, having diplomatic discussions, arguments, and this, that, and the other over the temple land itself. Now, the fight, the discussions, the arguing has been going on for many, many, many years. This isn't something that's new. That's just happened. I mean, obviously the fighting, the taking up arms and all that kind of thing. It's escalated yet again, but it's escalated before and then died down, and it's escalated before. Thing is, temples are a big business. They are literally a business here in Thailand. Hi. Yeah, they can bring in so much money, not just from the tourism, so the visitors from other countries. They make, Buddhist people make merit. They give money away to temples, so then the temple itself has money, not just from the tourists coming in and staying in hotels and visiting these places. The locals, they'll be on like if it ends up that this particular temple, because I don't actually know much about it at all, if that particular temple has a major significance that maybe wasn't aware of, maybe there's more to that temple complex and the surrounding areas, because now you have LADAR, the ground penetrating scans, but these satellites up in the sky. Before, it was like people on the ground having to scan the ground with some sort of device, so they'll be dragging it along the ground to get that ground penetrating imagery. Now the technology is so advanced that satellites can do the same sort of thing. They're doing it all over the planet. They're literally scanning the planet for, to gain the information. The natural resources, rare earth minerals and all that kind of stuff. The entire planet is going to be scanned within inches of itself, because it's the information of which country holds what valuable resources is key. You know, that's why I say Africa will probably be the next superpower, because it's an absolutely massive continent with loads of natural resources. So in my mind at least, which I'm no expert on these matters, but I honestly do think, yeah, hi. I honestly do think that there's a good chance that Africa could be the next, you know, superpower, or at least, you know, have a booming economy. It's just that they have so much corruption there that's would be holding them back. So yeah, they've got all this radar information. There may be more temple complexes nearby, which have been maybe undiscovered, and now the information is kind of out there. It's intensified the fighting over the disputed area. That's my theory on it. You know, it's like most of these wars. I mean, it's not a war, is it? It's a, I don't know what the real name would be. It's a conflict, I suppose, to some extent. It's not an actual war. Although I suppose wars, in some sense, it would be classed as war, because isn't it like fighting over, you know, disputed land? One country wants some, the other one wants too. So, yeah. Good morning, Si-Keo. Swimming's good. What's that? Swimming's a good exercise. It is a good exercise. It's not so strenuous on the old joints. Yeah. Unfortunately, where I am here in Si-Keo, it's not really a touristy place. There is one or two hotels with swimming pools, but why do you mention swimming? Is that something you like to do yourself? Yeah, I'm not much of a swimmer. I nearly drowned as a child, so got a bit of I will go in the water. It hasn't scared me that much that I wouldn't go swimming, but yeah. So I'm not going to be swimming anywhere anytime soon, although I probably should, because I say it's a good exercise, like you mentioned yourself. So I'll be off to, I think I might possibly head to the border today. What do you all reckon? Is that like going to be a really stupid idea? I mean, I know I've obviously travelled the road before. I'm not intending on crossing, and obviously as soon as I get to the border there'll be questions asked. You know, they'll be expecting, if a foreigner turns up there that is a dumbass for not knowing the border's closed. But if I don't even make it look like I was attempting to cross the border and just didn't know the border was closed, they'll know instantly I'm just going down there to have a nosy, you know, to have a look to see what's going on, and in which case a Westerner like just going to have a look, you know, stick his, well, not stick my nose in, obviously I wouldn't be getting involved with it with any fighting, but they've probably got an element of a duty of care to keep me away from any real danger zone. But yeah, having visited so many temples, I'm kind of really interested in this that particular area. I mean, I didn't really find my love of temples until well after I'd visited that border before. So I've been to this Cambodia, Si-Keo, Thai border before, and it's like I said, there is some like places to stop there, you know, some restaurants and things like that have got good views, but other than that there's not really a great deal along the way. And not that I was looking for it at the time, but I don't even remember seeing any signs for any temples or anything on the Thailand side. Um, I can only therefore assume that the access, any kind of signs or anything to this area where this temple is, must have been more accessible from, and this is only guesswork, must have been more accessible from the Cambodian side. But having driven around Cambodia and how bad their roads are, it probably wasn't all that accessible either. So yeah, they're fighting over an area that's already been disputed for many, many, many years. You know, firing guns. I mean, they're not really. They're taking pot shots, aren't they? You know, they're not like. I don't think either side really wants to be killing the other side, but they have to kind of, you know, be firing at each other to kind of hold them back, I suppose, to some extent. So they, you know, they're in their trenches and they're sticking their guns out and they're firing off, but they're like aimlessly firing off into, you know, to thin air. They're not like literally finding high ground and using snipers to take out the Cambodians, and then either of the Cambodians firing back into Thailand, doing that sort of thing. So they're taking pot shots at each other, you know, which is obviously an extremely dangerous environment to be in. If you're in the military, you know, you stick your head up and you get I wouldn't say a stray bullet, you get an unlucky bullet to the head. So it's obviously not an area that you want to be going to. But I'm just interested to find out what the situation is and has been for these temples, because I'm suggesting that it wasn't that accessible from the Thailand side to start off with. I've travelled that route before, and like I say, I wasn't, you know, purposely looking for signs for temples when I went there. The reason I went to that border was really just as a day out. I know it sounds odd. I didn't have anything to do. I couldn't find information on the internet to let me know whether or not I could take the motorbike across that border. It's the nearest border. So I thought, well, just take a drive to it and ask them directly. And this is well before any of this was going on. So the answer was no. And that was the reason for me going there. And I was there for probably, I don't know, half an hour, 3/4 an hour, something like that, because one of the the border control guys was, I think, enjoying practicing his English with me. But I didn't see anybody from the Thailand side coming up behind me to attempt to go across into Cambodia, and nor did I see anyone from the Cambodian side coming across, entering into Thailand in Si-Keo. So it's not, it has never been, as far as I can tell, a heavily used border crossing. I think I've probably been to almost all of the border crossings now with Thailand and Cambodia and Laos. Yeah, and all of the roads on the Thailand side leading to all the borders, even tracked the border crossing, like right on that tiny little slither of land between Thailand and Cambodia, right down like the most southernest part. Even track on the Thailand side, the roads are fine. You know, they're well maintained. There's no like dirt roads or anything. But this particular border that they're having this conflict over, that hasn't been maintained. There's massive potholes in it, and the road itself is just in not good repair. And that's obviously in the, say, year and a half it was since I visited and done my little recce to the area. Maybe they have improved it in the last year and a half or so, but the sense I was getting by being at the border with there wasn't anyone crossing it, and there didn't seem to be anyone using it at all. Why spend money on maintaining a road that only leads in and out of the country that no one's using? There's definitely no coach tours or bus tours going through there. I think about the only people that would ever be using it would be people that have family and friends on both sides of the border in that area. So if you like that cross border trade. Hi, how are you? Thanks for joining. So yeah, they're not fighting over it because of the access side of things. So it's got to be the potential income from the temple itself. Yeah. Obviously, it's within the Siem Reap province, I think. And Siem Reap is the same province as Angkor Wat, although it's kind of the fair distance away from the Angkor Wat main temples. So it wouldn't be classed as part of Angkor Wat. I'm sure it'd be a different area altogether in that sense, because it's too far away to come under that umbrella of the Angkor Wat site. But like I said earlier, now they're scanning the planet with all these satellites using radar, that ground penetrating scanning. You don't know what they've discovered in that area. There could be all sorts. It might, for all we know, it might not actually be anything to do with the temple at all. That area might have some. They might find out that particular area holds some natural resources. I mean, obviously the temple will have its monument status, but money talks, doesn't it? And I mean, it would have to have a massive resources of earth minerals and all that for them to even entertain the idea of knocking it down. That's for sure. My theory is that it's literally just to do. I mean, part of my theory is, yes, they may have found something using this scanning technology and discovered parts that they weren't aware about before, which obviously then need more exploration and more not ecological, archaeological investigations perhaps. So they're maybe thinking, right, well, once we can get in there and make these discoveries known, the people are going to start flooding in because it's a new discovery. So that will then boost the economy to whichever economy side of the border can take advantage of the fact that the tourism and such like could massively increase. The temples themselves are a big business, be it that it's got the status of somewhere like Angkor Wat, so you're literally getting thousands of tourists come from all over the world to marvel at the beauty of an old temple. And obviously it's in that part of the world, it's not too far from Angkor Wat. It's not obviously on the grandeur of Angkor Wat, but like I say, now this new ground penetrating radar stuff, it's anyone's guess what they could find out there. Yeah. Or have found, and they just can't let the media know about it until obviously they can sort out between themselves who owns the land and who doesn't own the land. Yeah. I mean, if it's a temple or something like that, and that's really all it boils down to, they're having fights. High, sweaty cap. If that's all that they're arguing about, it must just be the potential of the earnings from the temple itself, you know. And in which case, why can't they kind of just divide it? Not not put any barriers up or anything like that, but do it so it's like there's two collection boxes, yeah, where people can make merit, rather than you can have a merit making donation box for the Cambodian side, yeah, and then they can have the same again on in the same temple complex. They can have another merit making donation box on the Thailand side, yeah. Yeah, because it's obviously on the border. It's difficult for the like the immigration kind of part of it, because it's a temple. But if it's slap bang on the border, it's like, well, someone who maybe want to be crossing into Thailand or into Cambodia, and it's not like a heavily fortified, policed, secure area because it's a temple, rather than an actual border, which will have big fences with barbed wire, and normally they use a river or something as a natural divide between countries, or a valley or something like that. But if this is relatively easy accessible land that is unfortified, because it's difficult to fortify because it's jungle, mountainous, no river or anything running in slap bang in the middle of it to divide the land up, in that sense. It's a bit like when you cross over, if you cross over from, say, Nong Khai, is it Nong Khai? What's it coming from? Yeah, Nong Khai. So if you cross over from Nong Khai in Thailand, in Isan, to Vientiane in Laos, yeah, you go over the bridge, you go over the river. That's the natural divide, yeah. So they don't have to fortify it too much, because the river is doing that job for them. Same with Mukdahan and Savannakhet, yeah. The natural divide is the river again. Whereas Ubon Ratchathani and, say, the border with Paksay, the river isn't part of the natural border there. When you then cross out of Thailand into Laos, whereas the other two places I mentioned, you'd have to go over a bridge. From here, because that's where I just travelled from yesterday, Ubon Ratchathani into Laos, you cross over from land into land, and then the Mekong is an hour's drive into Laos, and then you go over the Mekong River using a bridge. But it's not a friendship bridge, because that bridge isn't the same as all the other border crossing points. They'll have barriers and all the rest of it, so the bridge itself is the border crossing. And that's the same here with Cambodia and Si-Keo and Thailand. There is no river dividing the two parts of the land. It is actual land. So obviously that's a lot harder to police and control for people literally don't have passports or anything, Cambodians, or same Thai people, and they might have an opportunity in Cambodia but don't have the correct paperwork. So maybe that, as traditionally maybe been way people have crossed in and out for many years, probably like hundreds of years. There'd be probably little trails running through forests and this, that and the other. As a Westerner, you literally be taking your life into your own hands, trying to cross borders through jungles and what have you. But I'm pretty damn sure desperate Cambodian people and desperate Thai people, for whatever reason, have snuck across the borders. And obviously the other ones, you went swimming across. So, I think it's just geographically, I think it's quite a difficult area to maintain a border at. Therefore, because of that particular temple hasn't been on the map that much. It's not kind of on the touristy route. but I'm suspecting that they would like it to be, because obviously it would generate revenue. But how would you then, I'm pretty sure they don't want to be putting massive fences running throughout the jungle through there, because obviously the environmental impact, stopping animals, getting through and all that kind of stuff. So obviously especially on the Thai side, I can't speak so much for the Cambodian side, but yeah, ecology and animal welfare and all that stuff is it's really big. I wasn't going to say really big business, but it's not. It is a business, but it's it's the mentality of the people looking after the environment. And yeah, I might get some backlash from saying that, because of the amount of trash, the amount of rubbish that is, around, But those sorts of areas are normally not. It's like, well, I know for a fact, 'cause like I say, I've driven to that area, and there is a large part of that jungle area is off limits. Like, you need special permission, and probably a guide to go in. And this is before any of the conflict. It's a jungle area, it's like a protected area, because like any parts of the Amazon, you ain't allowed to just destroy anything and everything just because you want to. So a large parts of that jungle area, that forest, the deep forested area around the border, is off limits to the people that don't live there. Basically, if you live there, then of course you can do whatever, but you can't just go to the national park around there. Well, I don't even think it's a park; it's a protected area. So there's the ecology of it as well. The temple, the fact that it's a little bit mountainous. It's a hard border to control and police. I don't really know, having not seen the temple. And obviously, I'm not a temple expert. I'm not an archaeologist. I wouldn't be able to tell you of its importance. But having visited so many temples and knowing that the older ones definitely seem to be the ones that the Buddhist people themselves like to go visit and make merit at. They obviously do the same at these newer temples, because, as I say, it's big business. And maybe the sort of the temples that they drag their partners off to, the Farang partners, because they're all shiny and new looking, and but obviously Angkor Wat isn't shiny and new looking, is it? And that gets thousands of tourists, probably tens of thousands of tourists throughout the year, because obviously it's such a big place, Angkor Wat, and it's spread over such a large area. You kind of, because when I travelled around it, I didn't actually really go inside Angkor Wat. I just kind of really just drove around the outskirts of it all, going through the villages and things like that. But even then, it's not busy in the sense that you see thousands of people there. Then maybe 1,000 people there, but if they've all arrived at different times and they're all in this massive complex, unless they're all in a specific point at any one time, it doesn't actually feel very busy. It actually feels very quiet. Yeah, and there might be times, like I say, there might be a big coach load of people turn up, but it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site or something, and I suggest maybe this area of disputed part of the border is maybe on a similar kind of lines as that. Although I've not heard any talk whatsoever of UNESCO at all, but maybe it is. Maybe it is got that status, in which case, if it's got the World Heritage status, it's a shame that it's, you know, in the firing line of both the Thai army and the Cambodian army, because it's obviously already a relic, shall we say. It's already a ruins of an old temple. It's not like it's been a newly built temple and they're fighting over it. They're fighting over, from what I can gather, the ruins of an old temple. So I'm suspecting that they've found something. When I say then, you know, whoever has the data from these satellites, yeah, whoever owns that information, wherever that information's maybe been leaked to, because obviously if it is discovered something, that information is extremely valuable, isn't it? So maybe that information from this ground penetrating radar was unearthed without actually moving the earth to find it, and has maybe found large complexes within that area underground. And obviously they're fighting over who owns it, which side has the rights to then receive whatever tourism or commerce that then brings in, you know. Because you can guarantee 100% if they unearth some, I don't know, lost tombs, or, you know, some sort of, I don't know, pyramid, or I know they're temples rather than pyramids, but you know what I mean. There's some chambers somewhere or something hidden under the ground or in the dense forest. I could kind of put that area on the map, you know, as the sister, the baby Angkor Wat, shall we say, you know. And yeah, that would mean that they certainly want to benefit from that, bring the tourists in and make some money from it. And the Thailand, as many as it has, what I think estimated 30,000 or more temples. Having one more added to the list is always a benefit, you know, especially for that particular area, because there's not much else there at all. So unless you actually got a purpose to be there, i.e. crossing the border, which with the states of the road, I can already tell you firsthand that isn't being used for crossing, you know. It's being used for, well, I don't know what it's been used for, because when I was there I didn't see a single soul either leave Thailand or come in from Cambodia. So and it's definitely a border you can walk across, so you'd think you'd see, you know, people coming and going, but it's definitely, it's not they're wanting to keep it open or they're fighting over it because of trade. It is obviously, as reported, it is to do with the temples. The temples that so far are not on the map, should we say, is to go visit. And I didn't see any signs from the Thailand side saying so and so temple this way. There may have been. I'm not saying there wasn't. I just don't recall seeing any. So I'm suggesting that now it's got to the point that they do want to put that temple on the map. So that's why they're having this fight over it once more, which is a shame, because people are obviously getting hurt in the process. But that's the war, you know, that's the casualty of war, isn't it? You know, it's not a war that's going on between Thailand and Cambodia, so it's not really the right word to use. But, you know, people are being shot at. There are rockets that have been fired off. I haven't seen any of that myself. Here where I am in Si-Keo, it's you know, I'm on the south side of the city itself, And Cambodia, I will 100% say with confidence that Cambodia will not be sending any rockets or missiles into populated areas. Yeah, they could accidentally, inadvertently mess up and not get the aim right and that kind of thing. But I don't think they have any intention whatsoever of, purposely killing any Thai people, especially not in populated areas. They'll, maybe send some rockets and shoot some bullets to push back the Thai army, and vice versa. The Thai will do the same to push them back the other side. But I don't think that the area that they're fighting over will expand any more than where it already is. So seeing these YouTubers, packing up their houses in places like Buriram, which are like 3-4 hours from that particular area, why? Makes no sense whatsoever. Well, I know why. They're doing it for the views, they're doing it for the clicks. Yeah. They probably realised since they started talking about it, their views started going up. The amount of comments they were getting went up massively because people want to know the information, But if you're watching this, you're going to be either from Thailand or Laos, yeah. Because firstly, the time difference between where we are in Southeast Asia, as the Western-speaking countries, they'll be fast asleep still. So the people that are watching this have got an interest in that area because they're more likely from the area, yeah, or they have family from the area. Westerners aren't going to be concerning themselves, and there's not going to be any information from governments not to visit Thailand, so tourism will not be affected, I don't think, too badly, because it's just two countries fighting over a border. The other border at Trat, that's not the area that they're fighting over. If you drove to the border of Cambodia and Thailand at Trat, can't remember the name of the place on the Cambodian side. By the way, you can take a motorbike across that border, because that was the other reason I went there. And you can take a motorbike from Thailand, or you could when the border was open. You could have driven a motorbike across from Thailand into Cambodia there. But currently you can't, because tit for tat, even though that isn't the border that they're disputing over, they've just closed all the land borders. And as far as I'm aware, there's only two between Cambodia and Thailand. So yeah, they basically just closed those two. There's obviously a land border with Laos and Cambodia, which you can still use. I'm not sure if you can take a motorbike across there or not, but yeah. So the closing of the border with Cambodia and Thailand at Trat has nothing to do with the temple whatsoever. All that has to do with is, like I say, tit for tat. It messes up both economies to some extent, because obviously Cambodian people working in Thailand and vice versa, Thai people working in Cambodia. I don't know so much about these scam centres, call centres, and all of that. It seems a bit odd to me that excuse me, seems a bit odd that if that is part of the reasoning, I don't think that there's any of those, because they're like jungle areas that are probably protected, for the environment. So the jungle areas that even if they wasn't thinking about, you know, ecology of the land and the animals and all that, it's just not a good place to build those sort of complexes. You know, the logistics of doing so would be an absolute nightmare. Mountainous and all the rest of it. So I'm pretty damn sure there's no actual call centre facilities within the disputed area. Although I have heard reports that that's kind of part of the reasoning for what's going on. I just don't see that. I really don't. Other places around the outskirts of Thailand, other border places with Myanmar and places like that, yeah, and then sure, you know, if they've got, you know, a nice flat place that they can construct these compounds, these call centres and such like, then yeah. But that the disputed area that's currently got this fighting going on, it's not like that there. I mean, I haven't seen it from the Cambodian side. I've only seen it from the Thailand side, so I shouldn't maybe say too much in as much as that I don't know. So it's just my speculation. But I'm sure if it's mountainous leading up to the border on the Thailand side, common sense tells you it's going to be the same. Is it topography, the lay of the land? You know, it's going to be the same sort of geology on the other side. You know, from travelling up to a border, going up a bit of a mountain on the Thailand side, suggests when you get to the border, if it's on, say, the peak of a mountain, the mountain ridge is also going to be going down once you get to the Cambodian side, yeah. So call centres and such like in that area, no, I don't think so. I think if they're anywhere, that they'll be with the. I think they probably are near Trat, somewhere like that. TRAT, Trat, on the Thailand side. That's the Thailand name for that border, but I can't think of the Cambodian name of that town on the other side. And that's all, you know, relatively flat area. It leads up to the ocean. So building call centres and things like that, yeah, then I think that's where they'll be, you know, these scam centres and what have you. The area that they're fighting over right now, it doesn't have anything like that. I would pretty much guarantee it, you know. So it's nothing to do with call centres, scam centres and all that, because I don't think they exist there. I think it is just literally making money from the temple. Temple's a big business. You know, the more tourists that they can get to visit the area, the better for the economy. And because it's on a border between the two countries, it's difficult to police, you know, in as much as control. It's a real shame that it obviously happens to fall on the border like it does. I mean, you know, maybe the fences, the barbed wire fences and all that will have to stay up. You know, open the site up, but either side of it, you know, have, you know, big barbed wire fences enclosing it. So at least visitors to the temple itself can't just kind of inadvertently or accidentally on purpose cross over into the other country and, like, you know, sneak through the jungle kind of thing. Or just put loads of CCTV cameras up with infrared on them, so you know that got movement sensors on them, you know, and keep an eye on people that way. Because obviously you ain't gonna travel too far through the jungle, are you? You're gonna try and get back onto a road at some point to get out of danger. So it's gonna be worth a recce, I think. I'm gonna have to take myself down to the border, I think, And I think today is probably as a good a day as any. I haven't got any protection as in like, you know, bulletproof vest or any sort. I've got my motorbike helmet, and that's about it. Um, so yeah, it could be a bit risque. I mean, how far exactly I can get to that border? They'd probably put, you know, some sort of barriers up further away from the original border crossing point. To be fair, so more than likely not going to be able to get too far. And of course, I don't want to ruffle feathers with the Thai police or Thai army that will be guarding the area. So, because obviously I rock up there on my motorbike, it'll be no, 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 and it'll be, well, I've driven all this way to not even get anywhere near the danger zone there, where what people want to hear about, you know, on the news. So selfish reasons, I will admit, selfish reasons. I want to get my subscribers up and my viewers up. All it would take was one video to go viral, and your subscriber numbers therefore go up. You know, so I am thinking for selfish reasons, and I'll be honest, you know, for no other reason than that. And also, I know people out there in the world, you know, some are interested, and obviously social media loves, you know, any sort of excitement where, you know, guns have been fired off and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I suppose it's that, you know, people can't help but look when, you know, they hear gunfire. I mean, I used to live in Cornwall, and it wasn't too far from one of the firing ranges for the Royal Navy. So we used to hear, you know, almost weekly gunfire. So you know, it travels, the noise for these heavy artillery travels a long way. So I probably won't get anywhere near the action. So I want to do it for the selfish reasons. I want to get the views, but at the same time, going there may be a waste of time. But anyway, I'll see how I feel later in the day. I don't particularly want to be putting myself in harm's way, really, unnecessarily. I don't have a real need to visit the border. I'm not looking to cross the border. I would literally just be going there to make a video. So if I do, wish me luck. Off all my crap. Thank you for watching. Signing off and out. Over and out.